Uh-oh, we want me here. We want me, we got trouble in here.
That video got 100 million views and lots of people were asking if the handler ended up being okay, so I did some research and here's everything you need to know. The gator's handler named Lindsay Bull opened the door to feed the reptile in a small pool when it bit her hand and wouldn't let go. Right when the gator bit her, it performed the infamous death roll. If Lindsay didn't roll with the gator just like she did, the gator would have took her whole arm completely off. A bystander named Donnie Wiseman jumped on top of the gator and pinned it down for Lindsay to be able to escape. Lindsay was immediately rushed to the hospital and underwent surgery, but should have complete use of her hand after treatment. Bullies called this kid a monkey, but what the internet did for him when they heard his story will restore your faith in humanity. This is 21-year-old Zanziman Ellie, and for his whole life he has been bullied for the way he looks. You see, Ellie has a condition called a microcephaly, which causes his head to be way smaller than the rest of his body. People in his village bully him and call him a monkey because he eats grass, climbs trees, and lives an unusual lifestyle. He was beaten and abused by other kids and villagers because he was seen as an animal and not a human. And the more he was bullied, the more he feared people, which caused him to run away from home every day to hide in the jungle, which really worried his mom. But after Ellie's story went viral, a YouTuber named Aframax started a GoFundMe to help Ellie and his family, which ended up raising over $6,000. Aframax then gave all the money to Ellie's mom, which she used to buy a brand new home to give Ellie a better childhood. This man's hand actually got stuck in his stomach, but just wait until you see how it looks like now. Carlos Moriarty was working on a machine used to make plastic tableware when his left hand got stuck inside. When he finally got it out, he literally had no skin on his hand and he lost all of his veins and the tops of his fingers. He got rushed to the hospital, and when he woke up after his surgery, his doctor told him that he did a very rare procedure. They sewed his hand in his belly to develop new tissue and tendon material, and he had to keep it in there for 42 days. After the 42 days, the doctors then took skin from his leg and put it on his hand. And now, this is what it looks like. The CDC has an official guideline with steps on how to survive a zombie apocalypse if it really were to happen. I am not joking. If you go to the CDC's website, you can find a zombie preparedness section. And with how crazy 2021 is, anything is possible. So let's go through the CDC's zombie survival checklist. You're going to need water, food, medications, tools and supplies, and more. Go ahead and pause now to read all of it. Next, you'll need to come up with an emergency plan. This includes where you would go and who you would call to join your zombie survival group. Imagine how easy it would be to survive a zombie apocalypse if you could join Daryl Dixon. Well, now you actually can in the mobile game State of Survival. It's a super fun game where you kill zombies with your friends, build awesome post-apocalyptic shelters, and they just released a collab with The Walking Dead, so now you can even play with Daryl Dixon. If you think you can survive, click the link in my bio. Welcome to ridiculous things going on around the world right now that for some reason you just haven't heard about. Part 29. Elon Musk is going to launch a satellite that will beam advertisements into space. He will be partnering with a Canadian technology startup to launch a satellite named CubeSat into orbit. Now you might be thinking that you'll be able to see the ads in space from the ground, but that's just not true. Instead, the satellite will look like this, with one side having a massive screen, where companies will be able to place their ads there by buying pixels on the display screen with cryptocurrency. A selfie stick will be attached to it which films the display screen, and the footage from the screen will be live streamed on Twitch and YouTube for people to watch it back on Earth. And the CubeSat is predicted to launch in early 2022. Men who have bigger noses have been also found to have bigger peepees, a recent study suggests. The study looked at the corpses of 126 men within 3 days of death and measured a range of body parts. And apparently the length of the men's noses correlated to the size of the peepee. Although there was a correlation between nose and peepee size, doctors couldn't find a reason as to why this might be. So the question is, how big is your nose? This 29-year-old man married a 4-year-old girl, but the reason why will make you cry. Little Abby was diagnosed with cancer at just 2 years old and had spent her whole life in and out of the hospital. She was sad because she just wanted to be a normal girl, but that's when she met her nurse, Matt Hickling. Matt checked up on Abby every single day, but in his heart he felt like she didn't have much time left. So Matt made it his mission to make sure that Abby felt loved and appreciated before she passed away. Abby loved him so much that she actually told her mom that she wanted to marry him one day. However, only a few days later, Matt received a phone call from Abby's mom. Her mom asked him if Matt and Abby could get married, and no, I don't mean legally. A few days later, they had the cutest little wedding at the hospital. Even though it wasn't real, Abby will remember this for the rest of her life. 15 months after her wedding, Abby completed her chemotherapy treatments and is now cancer-free. A girl got expelled from school for posting this exact picture, but you will seriously not believe the reason why. It was the night of Kayla's 15th birthday when her mom snapped this photo of her at a restaurant in California. Her mom instantly shared it to Facebook and they thought nothing of it. That is until a few days later when Kayla received a furious letter from her school's principal. She was permanently expelled from school, but the reason why will shock you. So Kayla's school was actually a very religious Christian academy named Whitefield Academy. They didn't like that she was wearing a rainbow sweater in front of a rainbow cake, implying that she was part of the LGBTQ community. According to the principal of the school, this goes against their beliefs. This tiny 1-inch jellyfish's sting won't actually kill you, but it will make you kill yourself. I am not joking, let me explain. The Irukandji jellyfish's sting causes a state that scientists have described as a feeling of impending doom. People that get stung believe they're going to die, and they're so certain of it that they'll actually beg their doctors to kill them just to get it over with, or they'll just kill themselves. And if that isn't bad enough, another symptom it gives you is relentless nausea and vomiting. How does vomiting every minute to 2 minutes for up to 12 hours sound? Amazing. It also gives you lower back pain that people describe as similar to an electric drill drilling into your spine. There's no antidote, and the only treatment is managing the symptoms. And where do you think you can find this amazing jellyfish? Australia, of course. So hippos are taking over Colombia right now, and it's Pablo Escobar's fault. And no, I'm not joking, let me explain. In the early 1990s, when Pablo Escobar was making millions of dollars per day, he decided to create his own zoo where he had all sorts of animals. But when Escobar was killed, the Colombian government had to do something with all the animals in his zoo. So they ended up sending all of the animals to local zoos except for Pablo's 4 hippos. They were way too large and aggressive to capture, so the government decided to just leave them alone and let them die. But the hippos didn't die. They instead decided to take over Colombia. And now, almost 30 years later, hippos are the most invasive animals in Colombia. They are breeding like crazy, killing local wildlife, and not to mention they are one of the most dangerous animals on the planet for humans. And the locals have even nicknamed the hippos the cocaine hippos, since the only reason they are there is because of Escobar. In 1991, the drug lord Pablo Escobar surrendered to Colombian authorities and agreed to spend 5 years in prison, but there was a catch. He would design the prison himself and he would be guarded by people he wanted to guard him. Since he was building the prison himself, he built an extravagant hotel prison on a mountain that he bought. His opulent palace included a soccer field, jacuzzi and sauna, multiple pools, a gym, a waterfall, and a helicopter landing pad. So even in prison, Escobar did whatever he wanted, which reminds me of Guns of Glory. In Guns of Glory, you can build and defend your own castle, form alliances with your best friends, or just decide to choose violence and do whatever you want when you want, just like Escobar did. There's also pirates, open sea warfare, treasure hunting, and so much more. So if you want to join the world that has no laws and no morals, then click the link in my bio.
Yo, bro, who got you smiling like that? Like,
Kill the lights, so baby, close your eyes. The way you're looking at me, you got me mesmerized. Something I can't escape, feel like I'm lost in space. You got that good loving, girl, if you leave me, I might throw my heart away.
Elon Musk just announced that Tesla will be building humanoid robots, which they are calling the Tesla Bot. The Tesla Bot will be 5'8" and weigh 125 pounds, and its purpose would be to eliminate dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks. Basically, the Tesla Bot can do any physical tasks humans don't want to do, like doing dangerous construction work or even going to get your groceries for you. Elon said that the robots would have a personality of their own, as they have machine self-learning chips inside of them. He also said that they won't be strong enough to overpower a human or be fast enough to overtake a human. But we will have to wait and see what happens, since a working prototype of the Tesla Bot is coming sometime next year. So a couple days ago, someone on the dark web said that they hacked into T-Mobile servers and had stolen personal data from more than 100 million different users. That data includes names, addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, and driver's license information, which is all details that the company collects to verify the identities of its customers. Since that post blew up on the dark web, T-Mobile has come out and said that they were indeed hacked. T-Mobile said that they are investigating for what information was actually stolen, and that the investigation will take some time. Meanwhile, the hacker is asking for 6 Bitcoin, which is worth around $275,000, for a subset of data including 30 million social security numbers and driver's licenses. And the hacker also said that they are already privately selling the rest of the data. So the Taliban have officially taken over Afghanistan, but many people don't exactly know how this happened. So here's everything you need to know. The US has been trying to get out of Afghanistan, which is its longest war for several years now. The Taliban, which is a military Islamic group, ran the country of Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001. In 2001, American troops removed the Taliban from power over Afghanistan in a matter of months when they invaded to find and remove Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is who orchestrated the 9/11 attacks and were being harbored by the Taliban. Last year, then President Donald Trump announced a plan to pull out and signed a deal with the Taliban that limited US military action against them. President Biden then announced that the last troops would leave by the end of August. And as the end of August drew close, the Taliban began overrunning city after city since the US wasn't there to stop them, and they were able to seize control over the capital once again. Cops could not believe the reason this man robbed the bank, and the punishment the judge gave him is absolutely hilarious. In 2017, Lawrence Ripple gave a bank teller a note saying, "I have a gun, give me money." Right away, the bank teller gave him all the money that was around her, which was about $3,000. And at this point, most robbers would leave the bank, right? Well, not Lawrence. He took the money and then found a nice comfy chair in the lobby, which he sat down on until the police came. He was arrested by the cops, who were obviously confused, until they spoke with his wife. His wife revealed that Lawrence left her a note saying that he'd rather be in jail than be with her. And when his court date came, the judge gave him 6 months of house arrest.
This is so severe, God! It's brutal out here.
That video got over 40 million views, and a lot of people were wondering, how does that pool work and where does the water go? So I'm here to tell you everything you need to know. I did some research, and the specific pool he is at the Atlantic, which is an apartment building in Philadelphia that has a pretty big infinity pool on the roof. An infinity pool is built like any other pool, except there's one section that dips, allowing water to flow into a catch pool. And the water is pumped from the catch pool to the regular pool, so the regular pool remains full. This is what the pool he is in looks like from the ground, so it's impossible for people below the building to get water on them. And the water just flows from the regular pool into the catch pool. And you can't actually float off the edge of the water because you're not actually on the edge of the building, as it's just an illusion.
Why did no one tell me how big America actually is?
He's correct, most people don't realize how big the US actually is. But this all gets even crazier because this world map that we all know is a complete lie, and I'm gonna prove it to you. The state of Alaska alone is bigger than most of Europe. Africa is so big that the entire continental US fits in just the Sahara Desert. But you can also squeeze in China, Western Europe, Argentina, India, Scandinavia, and the UK and still have room left over. Russia looks pretty big at the top of the map, but when you place it near Africa, it looks much smaller. Greenland looks massive on the map, but when you place it on top of North America, it's tiny. Antarctica is so big, it reaches from Texas to the northernmost islands of Canada. Australia covers almost the entire continental US. Brazil is larger than the US and covers all of Europe. The UK seems pretty big, but when you place India on top of it, you see how small it really is.
What is the kinkiest fetish you or people you know have? The most fucked up fetish I know of is an ex had a fetish fantasy of having all 4 limbs amputated, so she'd be basically fully dependent like a house pet who can never leave, and is fully at the mercy of the guy.
That fetish is actually a rare condition called body integrity identity disorder. This condition makes people have the desire to amputate 1 or more healthy limbs or to become disabled. An example of this condition is Chloe Jennings White, who is physically healthy but lives like a disabled person. She always uses a wheelchair even though she can walk, and has made several attempts to injure herself so that she can be paralyzed from the waist down. She even found a doctor overseas willing to paralyze her by severing nerves in her spine, but she can't afford the surgery. Another example of this condition is Jewel Shooping, who was born perfectly healthy but always dreamed of being blind. So she convinced a psychologist to pour drain cleaner into her eyes, and when they did, she became permanently blind. This man used his Tesla to save a man's life, and you won't believe what Elon Musk did when he heard his story. Manfred Kick was driving his Tesla when for some reason the guy in front of him started hitting his car against the guardrail. Obviously he got out of the way and switched lanes, but as he drove past the car, he looked at the driver and noticed that he was unconscious. So how do you stop a speeding car with an unconscious driver? Well, apparently you use your Tesla. He drove his car in front of the other one and slowed down until his car got hit from behind. Then he continued to slow down until both cars came to a complete stop. This caused over $10,000 in damages to his Tesla. And then he administered first aid until help came. And then when Elon Musk heard about this, he said that Tesla would fix his car 100% for free.
Apple announced on iOS 15 they will be able to scan every photo you have. Apple says they will be scanning for any images or videos that might have CP.
You heard correct. Apple is now going to be scanning through all the photos you have, but that's not even the worst part. Not only will Apple's new feature scan through your photos, it will even scan through your messages and your Siri conversations. And if Apple's AI robot detects possible CP or other content it deems dangerous or bad, it will be revealed to a real person for manual review. But the thing is, anyone who controls the list of possible images could use it to search for any picture on your device. And not to mention, it could just straight up get hacked, and hackers could have access to millions of people's photos, videos, and personal information.